Hi, this is Chris Orlob, and in this free training video, you're going to learn a powerful technique for winning more competitive deals. In fact, you're going to win your unfair share of competitive deals if you get really good at this. Now, here's what to expect. This is the first of 3 free training videos that I'm going to teach you on how to win your unfair share of competitive SaaS deals. And then the 4th video is going to be an overview of the full online course we have coming out soon, Rig the Game, advanced strategies for winning your unfair share of competitive SaaS deals. Now, here's the deal. Product differentiation is dead. Okay, if you think about SaaS and any category, each category is proliferating with new competitors. Okay, MarTech is my favorite example, and this is a great illustration. Back in 2011, they had 150 MarTech providers in that category, and today they have almost 10,000. Okay, your category might not be that competitive, but my guess it's gotten far more competitive than it was just a few years ago. And it's very difficult for buyers to sort through how these products are different from each other. Now, here's what this leads to. I call this the twin effect, right? Differentiating 2 products is like trying to tell the difference between 2 twins. Now, I bet you, as a SaaS seller, can tell the difference between your product and your competitor's product very easily. Just like a parent of 2 identical twins could tell the difference between their twins very easily. But that's because they're with their twins all the time, just like you eat, sleep, breathe your product and your competitor's product. Now, the average stranger on the street, though, who runs into identical twins, they can't tell the difference. They look identical. And that is the exact same experience your buyers have with your product and your competitor's product. To the trained eye, it's easy to tell the difference. You use it every day. But your buyers have probably only seen 1, 2, maybe 3 demos of all of these products combined, and we're expecting them to be able to tell the difference. And that's what leads to this kind of spreadsheet of death. If you've been in SaaS sales for any amount of time, you've probably experienced this, where your buyer puts you into competitive bake-offs with your competitors. They start making a spreadsheet where they're comparing all the features together, and it's just kind of a downward spiral and a race to the bottom on price from there. Now, I was talking to a VP of sales just the other day, and I'm familiar with her category, very familiar. And I can tell you that her product is far more superior than her competitors. But she was frustrated because her team had just lost a competitive deal. And what frustrated her the most, what drove her crazy, is this is what the customer said when they decided to move forward with her cheaper competitor. They've said, I've never seen 2 products look more identical. This decision came down to price, and they moved forward with the cheaper option, which was not her. So in this free video training, I'm going to teach you the first of 9 powerful competitive techniques for rigging the buying criteria in your favor, right? The full spectrum of winning a competitive deal can be put into 3 categories. 1, rig the buying criteria, 2, rig the buying process, and 3, rig the buying committee. I have multiple techniques under each of these. Today, I'm going to teach you the first of 9 within the first category here. So a little bit about myself, just so you know that the knowledge and training I'm about to share with you has some credibility. I'm best known for being the 2nd US employee at Gong, where I played significant roles in helping scale the company from less than $200,000 in ARR to well over 200 million in ARR and a $7.2 billion valuation in a very competitive space. Now, along the way, I helped build a bulletproof competitive selling toolkit. Both Gong and our closest competitor at the time, Chorus, started at the exact same time, yet we had a 15x more valuable valuation as at the time of this recording. And one of the reasons for that was not just product superiority, although we had that in spades. It was sales and marketing prowess and how we approached competitive deals in our competitive selling toolkit. Now, my experience with competitive deals and competitive selling predates my time at Gong, although that's where the bulk of it comes from. I've spent my entire career in sales technology, which is one of the most competitive categories on the planet. First at InsideSales.com, then co-founding my business called Conversature, then spending the last 6 years at Gong, and now with Quota Signal, which is my current business, which is again sales technology. I've spent a decade honing these competitive selling techniques in one of the most competitive markets on the planet. Now, in this video and the videos to come, I'm going to share everything I know in these videos and in the online course, Rig the Game. Okay, you're going to get really good at this stuff. You're going to learn how to drive your competitors crazy. It's going to feel unfair if you get really good at this, because I can guarantee your competitors are not good at these techniques, and they're probably not even familiar with most of what you're going to learn. So in this video, let's get to the first one. Rig the buying criteria in your favor. Okay, rig the buying criteria in your favor. What exactly is buying criteria? It's a list of formal or informal capabilities, features, or requirements that customers want in a solution that they're evaluating. Okay, you can think of it almost as a shopping list so that they can compare vendors. Now, here's an example of what a customer's list of buying criteria might be. So let's just give you a scenario. Let's pretend I'm selling Gong, right? Revenue intelligence. And this first line here, the customer's problem is they have a ramp time for new sellers. They're evaluating revenue intelligence solutions such as Gong. And here's their buying criteria. Here's their shopping list, so to speak. Number one, the ability for new hires to search for top reps demos. Number two, the ability for new hires to save lists of great discovery calls and listen on a mobile app. Number three, the ability to capture and analyze every conversation in the sales cycle from first call to close. And then number four, analytics on what separates our best reps from the rest. Okay, so this is their shopping list. This is their buying criteria for a potential solution like Gong. And the reason I share this with you is just so you have a concrete understanding of what buying criteria actually is. So you know what we're talking about in the rest of this training. Now, here's the trick. The trick is to influence that list of buying criteria so it favors your product and not your competitor's product, right? You want the list of buying criteria, at least a lot of it, as much of it as you can get, to be unique capabilities that only you can deliver, and your competitors either don't, won't, or fall short. Now, doing that, how you actually influence buying criteria starts in discovery, right? What you're looking at here is my 5-part framework for a great SaaS discovery call. We won't get into the details of that today, but it starts in cause analysis, right? It starts with you identifying and influencing the root cause of your customer's problem, and then influencing the perceived root cause of the problem in your favor so that they think they have a root cause that can only be solved by a unique product capability that you have and your customers don't, right? The perceived cause of the problem dictates which solution the customer buys. I'm going to say that one more time because it's very important for you to understand. The perceived cause of the problem dictates which solution the customer buys. So I'm going to give you an example here. Imagine you're on a road trip with some friends. Your car breaks down. How do you fix it? What do you buy to fix it? Do you get a new battery? Do you fill it with gas? Do you get engine repair, new transmission? Well, the answer to that is it depends on what caused the problem. Whatever caused your car issue will dictate what you buy to solve the car issue. Okay, and the same thing works with SaaS. So I'll give you a SaaS example. Let's go back to our example where we're selling Gong to a customer that has a ramping new hires problem. Well, the root of the problem, new reps don't see enough great demos, new reps don't hear enough great discovery calls, and new reps don't see what a good sales cycle looks like from start to finish. And as a result, they're ramping slowly. Now, here's the unique capabilities, or rather just the capabilities that map to those causes. Number one, top rep demo search. New reps don't see enough great demos so that now they can see those demos. That part of the cause, or that cause of the problem is solved. Number two, disco calls on mobile app. That maps to new reps not hearing enough disco. And number three, capturing an entire sales cycle within the platform from first call to close. That maps to the third root cause of the problem, which is new reps don't see what good sales cycles look like from start to finish. So the question then becomes, how do you rig the root cause of the problem in your favor so that only your unique capabilities can solve your customer's problem. There's a 3-step sequence to doing this, to diagnosing the root cause of your customer's problem in your favor in a way that boxes out your competitors and drives them crazy. It makes them hard to get any traction in your deal. So number one is you find the business problem. Okay, that's really basic. That's basic discovery. We're not going to go into detail on how to do that today because I assume you already have that skill set. This is an advanced training, but you do have to start with discovering what the hell the business pain the customer is trying to solve. Number two, you're going to ask an open diagnostic question. I'm going to explain what that is in a minute. What's your opinion on why this problem is happening? And then number three, only after you've asked an open diagnostic question, and I'm going to explain the psychology behind this in a second, now you ask a series of targeted diagnostic questions. These are the questions that rig the root cause in your favor. You're asking your customer to consider causes of the problem that they have not considered that map to your unique capabilities. So here's the difference. Before we get into the advanced psychology, here's the difference between open and targeted diagnostic questions. Okay, open questions are open-ended, and here's the key. They allow the buyer to go whatever direction they choose in answering. They give your buyer psychological freedom to diagnose their own problem. You're not leading them or being rhetorical. You're totally open-ended. What's your take on why this problem's happening? Now, a targeted question narrows your buyer's focus on something specific you'd like them to talk about, such as a root cause that only your solution addresses and your competitors can't. Okay, this is where you're asking leading questions. You're asking them to consider causes of the problem that they haven't considered that map to what you and only you can uniquely solve. So here's a couple examples, and then we'll get into the psychology. An example of an open diagnostic question. We've used this a couple times already. What's your opinion on why your ramp time is slower than you'd like? Now, here's an example of a targeted diagnostic question. To what extent do you think it's because new reps don't learn what good sales cycles look like fast enough? Okay, so one is very open-ended. The other, I'm asking them to think about a very specific root cause. Now, let me just pause here. I'm throwing a lot at you. I need to make sure you're with me because we're about to get into the magic here. Okay, so just stop for a second, take a deep breath, pause the video if you need to, get some water, and let's keep going because we're about to get into the magic. Now, here's the question. Why do you ask open questions before targeted questions? Why does that sequence of questioning matter? Asking an open question gives your buyer, or it gives you permission to then ask a targeted question. Okay, by giving your buyer psychological freedom first to answer your question however they want, now you've earned the right to ask more targeted, pointed, leading questions. I don't know what this quirk is with human psychology, but if you started with a targeted question, you'll meet resistance. They'll feel manipulated. If you start with an open question where you are truly giving them freedom, and then you follow it with these leading targeted questions, they're very receptive because you've started the conversation by giving them freedom to diagnose. So open questions first, then targeted questions. Here's what a discovery sequence would sound like in such a way that starts to influence the buying criteria in my favor if I were selling Gong. So we just discovered the problem, I summarized it, and I say, why do you think your ramp time is 7 months? What's going on there? And they'll answer. I gave them psychological freedom. And now I start to ask my series of targeted questions that influence things in my favor. To what extent do you think it's because new reps don't learn what a good sales cycle looks like fast enough? Right? Your sales cycle's 3 months. It takes them 3 months just to shadow one. How much is that contributing? How important is the demo in your sales cycle? Could part of the issue also be that new reps don't get to see enough of your best reps demos fast enough? Yeah, absolutely. They only see 1 or 2 a month because our best reps are busy and we can only shadow so many calls. How about discovery? Are they getting enough exposure to what great looks like there? No, you're totally right. It takes them a while to shadow enough discovery calls as well. Now, if I deliver unique capabilities, that solve these causes and the customer voiced them in the way I just acted out, I am setting this deal up to be rigged in my favor. Okay, so you can probably see where we're starting to influence the customer's buying criteria toward our solution. If we go back and we look at the buying criteria that we laid out at the beginning of this training, the highlighted buying criteria starts to come from the discovery sequence we just went through. We asked an open-ended question about their ramp challenge, and then we asked targeted questions that got them to agree the cause could be something that only these three highlighted capabilities could solve for. So this deal is just starting to get rigged in my favor. Now, we're going to end this training with an exercise. Do not leave the training. Do not leave without doing this exercise. The value of this is not the knowledge you consume, it's the action you take. And this exercise is the bridge between knowledge and action. This is how you start to put this to use. So step one, I'm going to write this, or I'm going to do this exercise with you. Write down the business problem that your target ideal customer faces that your product helps solve. Okay, just write down the business problem you solve. Here's mine for Quota Signal for our interviews as a service platform. When Series C companies start to scale AE headcount, they have one of two issues. They either hire fast enough to make their hiring goals, but mishire 40% of their reps because they move so fast, or they avoid mishiring to that extent by hiring more deliberately, but they miss their headcount targets and therefore their revenue targets. It's a lose-lose. Both are expensive checks to cut. Okay, write yours down before moving forward. Step number two, once you've done that, write down between 1 and 3 root causes of that problem that only your product can solve, or solve significantly better than your competitors because of unique capabilities or advantages you have. So again, I'm going to follow along with you here. I'm going to do a couple. Number one, a root cause of the problem I just reviewed with you. Sales managers spend a third of their time interviewing to make aggressive hiring targets. As a result, they don't have time to vet candidates deeply, or they'll miss their targets, right? If they're hiring 2 AEs a month, they don't have time for a rigorous hiring process. And then the second root cause that only my product can solve is, even if they did have time, most sales managers don't know how to hire or interview effectively. So they make a lot of expensive mistakes and mishires. Okay, do that now. Step 3, design targeted diagnostic questions that influence the root cause to be perceived in your favor. So now you take what you did in step 2 and turn it into a series of questions. And again, here's what mine would sound like. One of the things I hear a lot from other Series C companies is that their hiring goals are so aggressive that managers spend a third of their time hiring. As a result, they can't vet candidates as rigorously as they'd like, or it would be too slow and they'll miss their hiring targets. To what extent is that part of the issue in your case? Okay, I'm setting up interviews as a service, which is unique, to land really well. Now, here's the other one I would write. Another issue I hear a lot is that even if managers did have the time to hire a lot or interview as much as they needed to hit their targets, most sales managers aren't very good at hiring, interviewing, and predicting successful candidates. So I promise I'll keep this off the record, but do you trust your managers to make the same hiring decisions you would? Okay, I'm starting to rig the root cause of this hiring conundrum in my favor that only interviews as a service can solve. So do that part of the exercise, and let's wrap this up with step 4. Design your new targeted questions into an overall discovery flow. So start with discovering the problem. Help me understand your hiring challenges. Again, this is mine. Then go to an open diagnostic question once they've shared. Wow, a 50% mishire rate. That's actually pretty common, but why do you think that's happening? And now go into your flow, your series of targeted diagnostic questions that rig the perceived root cause in your favor. And I'm not going to read these because I just did in the last one. So do these 4 steps and then start to implement them on competitive deals. Now, I've got 19 more competitive tactics coming your way, just like this one. Okay, so you're going to want to keep an eye out for the emails I'm going to be sending over the next week or so. In the next video, you're going to learn how to rig the buying process in your favor. So today you learned one of 9 techniques to rig the buying criteria in your favor. In the next video, I'm going to show you a powerful competitive deal technique to rig the buying process in your favor. The steps that a customer does or does not take to evaluate you versus your competitor and how you rig that process in your favor. Now, here's what's coming next, just as a reminder. Today, we just reviewed rig the buying criteria in your favor. We covered one of 9 techniques that I have in my arsenal to share with you. On Saturday, okay, this coming Saturday, I'm going to teach you the technique I just talked about, which is how to rig the buying process in your favor. The following Monday, a couple days later, I'm going to teach you how to rig the buying committee in your favor, the blend of people and influencers and political dynamics, so that you can get a deal done in your favor and box your competitors out. And then finally, on Wednesday, October 19th, we are going to announce our newest online course, Rig the Game, which puts all of these techniques, frameworks, and strategies for winning your unfair share of competitive deals into an online course that you can start using immediately. So here's what to do next. Hit reply to this email or to the email that you received with this video with any questions you have. If you're seeing this on social media, comment on the LinkedIn post. Let me know what's going through your mind. And in the next video, the one coming up on Saturday, I'll do my best to answer the most common ones. So do that now. Shoot me a question via email, LinkedIn, comment, whatever. And we'll see you in the next video in a couple days where we talk about rigging the buying process in your favor to win your unfair share of competitive SaaS deals.